My name is Shana and I'm your host today. Welcome to Controlled Chaos. And this is my new friend, Rachel, who I've been kind of obsessed with forever. I always have watched your Instagram and stuff since I started when I got sober and started looking on Instagram for people who were kind of like me because you don't see it a lot. You were the one of the first people that came up. So I'm so excited to have you here. And can you just tell us a little bit about you, like your
Yeah.
story?
Thank you so much for having me. What a sweet, warm intro. I love it.
Aw.
How long have you been sober?
I have been sober for 3 years now, and I tried really hard for like 2 decades. So this is
That's
this is
amazing.
amazing.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not too much in front of you. I'm like a little over 3.5 years sober. And yeah, I can't believe I've had my almost had my account on Instagram for 3 years. It will be 3 years in September, which is just wild to think about. It's been a long time. And a lot has changed and a lot of cool stuff has happened because of, the sober community on Instagram. And I'm just so grateful that I'm in this place now. And thinking back to who I was before, like 3.5 years ago, I mean, she doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that person is just like totally gone. So I don't know, it's really cool. And I get to meet people like you and do things like this and come on your podcast. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. So what kind of got you, what was the thing that was like, okay, it's time for me to make a change?
Honestly, I mean, the cliche of it, of I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time. And I think COVID was the catalyst for my sobriety. I don't know if I could have gotten sober without COVID. So, COVID happens and I was working at a job that I like couldn't stand, and I was in a relationship that I didn't want to be in anymore, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I was living with my now ex in an apartment we couldn't afford, and I hated the way I felt, and I had really bad digestion issues. My eye was twitching all the time for months. And my little sister was supposed to get married in June 2020. And so everything was like kind of spiraling out of control. And I was literally praying to the universe for a pause in life because I needed to figure out what the hell I was going to do. And then all of a sudden COVID happened. And I was like, did I manifest COVID into my life? Like,
Right.
did I manifest this? No, I mean, obviously it was scary and horrible and terrifying, especially here in New York City at the beginning. But my apartment lease was up in April of 2020. So my ex and I left the city, and my job, got furloughed and then laid off. And so that problem was taken care of. My ex and I, our apartment was taken care of. My sister's wedding was postponed. So that was taken care of. So all of these things that had been like really stressing me out and that I had been blaming my drinking on, even though I would have been drinking anyways, but I was like blaming them on these external things that I thought I couldn't control. So then we leave the city, we go to my mom has a lake house and we're there and I love it there. And I was expecting that I would feel better. Everything would just get better. All these like things were off my plate, but nothing changed. I still felt like crap. I was still drinking too much. I gained a ton of weight because I wasn't like moving my body, and I was still miserable. And I was like, oh, so it wasn't all of those external things. It was me and my drinking. um, so that was really like the catalyst of me realizing that I had a serious drinking problem, and that I knew it. I knew it beforehand. Like I had said it out loud to a friend of mine years earlier, and I knew, but I would just like bury it away and surround myself with people that also had drinking problems to normalize my own. And, I would always be like, one day in the future, I'll do it like after the summer, after the wedding, after, I would make excuses of when I would like stop drinking. Um, so yeah, like there was a moment in June of 2020 when I was like laying in my mom's lake. I was drinking by myself. Well, and I had my dog on my lap. And it was like a gorgeous day. And I'm drinking, and this like man went running by the house. And I remember thinking to myself, like, ugh, what a loser, like running on such a nice day. And this voice came into my head that I'd never heard before. And the voice was like, he's not the loser, you're the loser. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the loser. Like, why am I the loser? And the voice was like, well, he's like running and bettering himself and working out, and you're drinking by yourself like a blob in the lake. I was like, yeah, like that's accurate. And I thought, like, how do I get the motivation to see a nice day and want to like run and move my body, and not drink by myself in the lake. And I heard the voice be like, he's not drinking whiskey till he passes out on his couch every night. And I was like, yeah, that is true. So that was like my moment of clarity. People say like you get this like moment. And I
So
had like an
you had
out.
an intervention with yourself.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I mean,
really love that. I love that.
I think I'm very spiritual, and I've always been spiritual since before I got sober. I mean, it really ramped up after my sobriety, but I truly believe I was having a conversation with my higher self. I
Yeah.
also believe that every single time I tell that story, which I tell that a lot, that story, that moment, I'm time traveling back somehow to that moment and just confirming even more that I had to stop drinking. Like I believe that like when we think about memories, it's a form of time travel. I know it sounds like a little crazy, but so yeah, I had this conversation and I totally freaked out and was like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I remember I also had like a pain in my side that was hurting, and it wasn't my liver. I think it was like my gallbladder, but it totally freaked me out. And I was like, okay, I have to see if I can go 2 days without drinking. Then three, but I knew I wasn't trying to stop. I was like testing my limits to see if I would
Right.
withdraw 2 days. And then I went like 3 days. And then I went 4 days. Um, and I was like, okay, like this is we're gonna try. But I didn't actually I didn't actually stop drinking though for 6 more months. So I ended up getting back to New York City. I was still with my ex and started moving my body again. I started, I got some routine down. I was like very I'm not grounded during COVID.
Mhm.
2020, I was all over the place. 2021, we were like back in New York City. And my mom asked me if I would do dry January with her. And I said
I love
no.
that.
Yeah, I said no. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. Sorry. And she had gotten me the book Quit Like a Woman by Holly
Mhm.
Whitaker for Hanukkah. That's what she gave me as like a Hanukkah present. She was like, Chrissy Teigen held it on Instagram, so I thought you'd like it. I was like,
Oh,
you're trying to make sobriety cool, aren't you? Um, yeah, so I didn't start till the third, and I just told myself I was going to go 30 days without drinking and to see, and I didn't even think I could do it. Um, but I did. I did. And I started Weight Watchers on the same day because I would literally look in the mirror and not recognize myself. And I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to drink the points for my Weight Watchers, like maybe it will work this time. And it
right.
did. And I couldn't believe it. And I started like walking a million miles a day. And I got really like my ADHD like switched from like feeling like crap and like not wanting to do anything to being like super into like moving my body and trying to be healthy. And like it's almost like I had to go from one extreme to the other extreme.
Hmm.
um, and that's like how everything kind of started.
I love that. So in the beginning, you said that when you wanted to kind of stop or whatever, that you did like 1 day, 2 days. Were you like physically dependent at that time, or you not sure?
I don't know.
Like, were
I
you
wasn't
drinking every
having,
day?
yeah, I was drinking every
Okay.
day. And I was drinking like significant amount, it wasn't like all day. It was
Hmm.
like I would wait till it became like 5-ish.
Right.
And that was like I was okay to drink then, unless it was like the weekend. And then I was like, oh, it's brunch. Or, I mean, I would make excuses to drink as much as I could possibly drink, but I didn't like shake. Like I don't
Hmm.
know. I did have some withdrawal symptoms for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it was scary. And I don't recommend people doing it the way I did it.
Right.
It was also a weird time, right? Like COVID lockdown was,
Hard to get to the doctor, hard to do really anything, hey?
yeah. I mean, there were no AA meetings in person. I mean, yeah. So I was kind of just like white knuckled it. I also didn't think I was getting sober. I thought I was just like, I don't know, doing a 30-day
Taking
challenge.
a break.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
Yeah.
I love that. So, like, what do you think brought you to that point in the first place? Like, I guess I should have asked that first, but like, what started you drinking like that?
Um, I think I had been self-medicating with drugs and alcohol since I was 14 years old. And I grew up really quickly. I went to boarding school when I was 15. I started partying in New York City when I was like 15. We would
Mhm.
come here on the weekends and go out. And I started doing drugs really young. And my ADHD, though, I think was a huge component of it because I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was like 15, almost 16, probably. And they say if you start medicating, if you start using drugs or alcohol before you're diagnosed, you're like way more likely to have a substance abuse problem. Um,
Right.
but I think I was in a lot of pain. I had really bad anxiety and depression, and I was just struggling. And alcohol and drugs, helped me escape. It was an escape that I really loved for a very long time. And I had absolutely no medium dial. I still really don't have a medium dial. I'm a very all or nothing person. I don't know how to do anything in moderation. Um,
Mhm.
I also surrounded myself with other people that did that kind of stuff like me. So I didn't feel like I had a problem. Even though I most definitely did, even when I was 14. Like,
Right.
so it was a long time of then it becomes a habit and it becomes a routine, and you don't know how to deal with your emotions, and you don't know how else to have fun. That was how I defined fun. That was how I was in therapy the whole time pretty much, but
Mhm.
like it's not the same when you can't feel your feelings without
No.
numbing them with alcohol. So, the ADHD though played a huge part. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't want to exercise. I didn't want to eat right. I mean, it was like, it's all connected. But the alcohol is just so detrimental for people with ADHD, especially, when you're still a teenager and your frontal lobe is still developing. And so, yeah, I mean,
So did you end up taking medication for your ADD when you were younger?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now,
Yes.
was that a good thing or a bad thing? I tell everyone I got on medication for ADD when I was like 12, and listen, like I could outdrink anyone because I was high as shit. Like I was so hyper, or not hyper, so much energy from my medication that like everybody else would be like passed out sleeping and I would still be up drinking like happy as hell. Did that happen to you? Or
No,
did
I
you have
mean,
like a different experience?
it saved my life for sure. Without being medicated for ADHD, I don't think
Mhm.
I'd be here. Like for real. No. I mean, I was at boarding school though, and like half my school took medication, and I didn't even know what it was until one day a teacher asked me if I forgot to take my meds. And I was like, I'm not on meds. And the teacher was like, oh my God, like that's and I got diagnosed and put on medication, and I started getting the highest GPA in the school. Like I was in all the AP honors classes. I like did this math science research program. Like I was like biggest nerd, but also getting in trouble. Like it made me chain smoke cigarettes. That's what my medication made
Yeah.
me do. So I spent my entire boarding school, 3 years of boarding school, running into the woods with my friends to chain smoke cigarettes and hoping the teachers wouldn't catch us. I mean, that we like centered our whole day around it. And that's because the meds made me crave nicotine.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, truly, they saved my life. So I
That's
think
good. That's
everyone's
very
just
good.
just different, you
Yeah, just
know?
very different. Once I changed medications, like I do amazing on my ADHD meds, but I took Adderall at like a super young age and it was not like a good look for me.
Hmm. Yeah, Adderall is like I was on Adderall back then too. I've tried a lot of the medications. By this point, I'm still on ADHD medication, like to this
Yeah,
day.
me too.
And I think, it works for some people, other people, they don't need it. I know
Right.
that I need it and I need to take it every single day. Like for a long time, I only took it Monday through Friday, and then I wouldn't take it on the weekends. That's so bad for you. I did that for so long, and it really messed up my whole body. Like you would almost
Up
withdraw
and
from it.
down, right?
Yeah. And then starting again on Monday again. And my body was just like, and I would binge eat on the weekends because I wouldn't be on the medication. I'd want to sleep all weekend. I mean, I think back to those times and I just feel so, so sorry for that version of me and for doing that to
Right.
myself, you know? Um, but yeah. So
Yeah. So a lot of my listeners, I'm from Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. It's super, super small down here. So I've been to New York. My brother used to live there. It's crazy. So can you tell us what life was like there, like in your drinking days? And now, like, it's such a social, like, I can't even explain it. Like, not like here.
yeah, I mean, I think New York City is such I think it's the best city in the world. My own
Hmm.
person, I'm biased, but
So
it,
fun.
it's what you make of it though, right? You can
Yeah.
find literally anything here and you can find any community, any type of person. When I was drinking still, there was most of my 20s I lived in Brooklyn and
Mhm.
I totally thought I was a hipster. And I did a lot of drugs. I just went out every single night. I would make all my friends at dive bars. I knew everybody in my neighborhood because of the drinking, right? Like I knew
Mhm.
all the bouncers. I would lose my wallet all the time. There was one summer I lost my wallet like 5 or 6 times. So I didn't have an ID. And so I could only go to the places where the bouncers knew me. And I would have to like, it was just like, I was a hot mess, like out of chaos. My life was chaos all the time. Something was always happening. I would just like, it was dangerous, a lot of the stuff I used to do. And I was a pass out sleeper. I mean, pass out drinker. Like I would just
Mhm.
drink until I fell asleep somewhere.
Me too. Yeah.
And yeah. And so that was like dangerous. And, so things of mine would get stolen. I'd lose my phone. I mean, it was horrible. Um, but yeah. And then I I met my ex and totally clung on to him. And, my drinking definitely got worse in our relationship because I think I realized we weren't supposed to be together, but I had already done my very impulsive, without thinking stuff where we got married behind my parents' back at the city hall because he was from Italy and I wanted us to be together. So yeah, my drinking got worse. And then I got my dog, George, because I needed like something to take care of besides myself.
Mhm.
And I also thought that would give me routine. And I would, but I still woke up with a hangover. I would just then have to like walk my dog and like feel like crap.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, that the city it was fun. Quote, I thought it was fun, quote unquote. But looking back, it really wasn't fun. It was like the same thing over and over, sitting in the same spaces, drinking the same stuff, like meeting the same kinds of people. Um, so now and then in sobriety, uh, I totally saw a whole different side of New York City. I mean, I was living in the Upper East Side when I got sober, which is where I live now. And I had never explored Central Park. Like, I realized I had lived in New York City a very long time and I did not know my way around Central Park. Like, I was embarrassed by that. I'd only drank in the park, and the park's huge, to be fair. Like, in
Right.
Central Park, it's massive. But so I got sober, and my dog, we would start walking to the park and then we'd turn around before, like right when we got inside, because I didn't want to get lost. I had anxiety. I was like, we'll just like go to the park and turn around. But my dog, George, he's like Mr. Explorer. He would like pull me into the park and he would like pull me further and further. And it was
Mhm.
very like much in line with my sober journey. Like the further I got into my sober journey, the further we explored Central Park until like at one point, George, we were off leash. You could do off leash before 9 a.m. And we were doing like a 6 mile loop around the park. And I was just like, wow, I mean, this is a whole side of New York City I definitely didn't appreciate. I definitely would have never come and done this if I was still drinking. And it really just
Mhm.
like opened my eyes to a whole new side of the city. And that's where the Instagram account name came from. It was quite very literal. It
Mhm.
was a literal sober in Central Park, you know, title. But yeah. And then now what it's like is there's so much cool stuff to do when you're sober here. I mean, it's like I honestly like that I'm a city person, but I can't imagine living in the suburbs sober. Like I don't know what I would do with myself. Like there are, I'm actually working on a team. We're opening a non-alcoholic bar and cafe in the next few months. And it's gonna be like
Yes.
announced soon on social media, the whole team. But there's a lot. of cool stuff happening here. And, I started putting on not sober events so people could meet other people and make friends. Started working with non-alcoholic beverage companies. Because they, right when I got sober was when these non-alcoholic beverage companies were really on the rise too. And
Mhm.
so, I really had to change my identity from the party girl, which is what it was for so long, to the non-alcoholic party girl.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love it though. You talk a lot about like anxiety and stuff like that. And so I want to know because like I had super, super bad anxiety and I would talk myself into, and I really did think it was true that I needed alcohol to calm me down. Like it would calm me down. But once I stopped drinking, and not for like 30 days, because I was still pretty anxious after 30 days, I'm not going to lie. If I thought what I felt like at 30 days was how I would have felt for life, I probably would have kept drinking because I felt better, but not a whole lot better. But like at 6 months, around 6 months, I almost had like no anxiety. So, like, this whole thing that I had been telling myself forever about how I was just anxious and depressed, like, all the time, really, I had been drinking since I was like 12, and it wasn't real. It was like the chemicals, right? And a lot of things I never learned how to deal with, like my feelings, my emotions. So, my automatic reaction was anxiety. And once I got sober and put myself in so many different situations and had to live through it, I didn't really get anxious doing those things anymore. And not to say I never have anxiety. I definitely have anxiety sometimes, but not like daily, like crippling, like don't want to leave the house. So, do you still have anxiety? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, I totally relate to everything you just said. I mean, I agree. I used to have crippling anxiety where I didn't want to leave the house at all. I thought everyone was like looking at me or judging me or talking about me. I was paranoid. My depression was so bad I couldn't get off the couch. Like, no, I mean, it was very bad. Now, yes, I still get anxiety about things. I'm an anxious person. I still have an anxiety disorder for sure.
Mhm.
But nothing like what it was. I mean, it's hard for me to even almost like remember the before days because it was so
Mhm.
bad. It was like I blocked it out. But no, there was like a tightness in my chest at all times. It never went away. And it was like hard to breathe, It was like, oh my God. And that went away. I would say too, yes, that around 6 months is when things like really felt like, oh my God, I don't really have anxiety anymore. But I noticed a difference after 30 days. I mean, that's how bad. I think the biggest difference I noticed after 30 days was waking up without a hangover, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, but like my body, even after 30 days, was so used to waking up every single day with a hangover that I would like wake up and be like, ugh, this again. But then I didn't have a hangover and I'd be like, yay, this again. Like I feel great. And I would like start singing to myself and like go to Central Park in the morning. And I just like couldn't get over how good I felt in the mornings. And then how much I was getting done. And the anxiety just like went down and down and down to a place where like I like didn't, yeah, I didn't have anxiety anymore. Like things will trigger anxiety. If I have to travel out
Yeah.
of the city with my dog for 2 weeks, like I just had to do a few weeks ago, like I get anxiety before I have to do that.
Mhm.
Like, but it's not stuff like that's gonna cripple my day or like, I used to not be able to even go places alone, really. Like I didn't want to go explore neighborhoods. I didn't want to, go to the street fair down the street. I didn't want to like do things. And, the drinking and the anxiety really held me back from like living my life. Like I just
Mhm.
would stay home and like binge watch TV and drink. Like that's so depressing and sad to think about.
It is. It's crazy like how long that we lived like that and we're like this is life, right? And I had drank so long like that and I was like physically dependent. Like I would have to drink when I woke up to go to the bathroom because I was so shaky. So I think really that after I got sober, after I like detoxed and whatnot, it took a long time for like all my chemicals in my brain, all of that, I think, to like level out and be normal. So I had like a real period of like still depression when I first got sober. And I was like, I don't know if this is ever going to go away. But it did in time. And I really don't have that anymore. And it's crazy to think that I really thought that that was just me. Like I thought I was just like born like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you've been abusing your body for so long that you don't even know who you are without alcohol.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, yes, it's alcohol changes everything about you. Your personality, the things you like to do, how you look, how you
Yeah.
feel, you know? And when you, it's so wild that like a substance, a liquid can impact so many things in our lives. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and that it's pushed on us so much, and it's so normalized, and it was like so weird, when I think when we both got sober, it was a little bit weirder to say you were sober. I mean, so much has changed in the past 3 years, right? Like the sober
Yes, that's why
movement.
I love sober Instagram because I really didn't know it was a thing. And when you talk about like, I don't know what I would do in the suburbs, if I was sober, because there's so much to do in New York. It's funny because that's why so I worked in treatment for almost like 18 years or something like that. And I kept relapsing, relapsing. I couldn't figure out staying sober. So I finally sucked it up and moved back home to my like little hometown that I hated. And I worked just like nursing home jobs, 911, random stuff. And just like 5 months ago, I decided I wanted to go back to like working with sober women who wanted to get sober. And that's why I got online, is because there was like nothing like that around here, really. Nobody really, there's not like sober events, things like that. So I was like, I'm just going to start making it because
Hmm.
I'm so bored.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
So
that's
that's where
totally.
all this was born from.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, there's the movement is so new still, right? But it's
Mhm.
grown and changed so much, I think, in the last 3 years. But yeah, I mean, that's why I made my account too. It was mainly to hold myself accountable though. Like that was the main reason I made it. I was scared I was gonna drink again. Like, and I didn't want to. I was like 9 months sober, and when I had shared 100 days on Facebook, like, when I had made it there, it felt really real.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this feels real, But that was the main reason. And then I also there wasn't a big presence on social media yet. Like there were some accounts,
Right.
there were, and I followed them. But they were mostly meme accounts. And I didn't see like people like me sharing their journey. Like that
So
just
like
like
quotes and stuff like that.
I just saw quotes. I didn't see people like
Mhm.
being like, "This was my date today. I didn't drink like on this many days." Like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there were some people doing that, but I didn't know who they were, and I just wanted to. If I could have helped one other person that was like me, that was what I wanted to do. So and I still do this. I make my posts and I try to talk to the old version of myself. That's who when I write them out, like, if she was scrolling on social, like what would make her stop and read and keep going. Um, but I definitely did not expect like it to be my whole life, my job, my company, to make all these friends. I mean, it's cooler and better than I could have ever imagined in a million years. So
Right. Yes.
yes.
So what is it that you do now? Do now. Not that you bring it up. So you do sober coaching, right?
A little bit. That's really like just a tiny piece of what I do. I do some coaching, mostly life. Yes, it's for people helping people get sober, but I would say it's really about mindset shifts and general life coaching and
Mhm.
helping people figure out what they want their life to look like and how are we going to get you there, and accountability. So yes, that's one piece. But I recently now, I'm on a team now of people, and we're opening a space, and
Mhm.
it's been taking up all my time. But it's really exciting, and I'm just can't wait for that because I've always been an events person. I've been doing events in New York
Mhm.
City since way before I got sober. And being able to now use all of my, career experience and put that into the sober world with a team. Oh my gosh, it's like a dream come true. So that's really like what I'm mainly working on. I also, do some consulting with different brands and companies and marketing, and So it's like entrepreneur life, right? I'm like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You got to
Right.
hustle really hard here in New York City to, to make it work. So I'm always working.
But that's
And
fun,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it is. It is fun. It's fun. Last year, my first year doing this was really hard. It was really tough, and I didn't know if I was going to make it.
Like
Yeah,
financially wise, you mean?
all of it financially wise. I got burnout. I was running myself into the ground. I had to figure out how to balance everything. I had no idea. I didn't have a plan. I just was like grasping at straws, trying to do it all, then like burning out. I mean, it was a really tough year last year.
Hmm.
But I learned a lot, and now I'm feeling really good about everything. So like, okay, I didn't give up. I thought there were moments last year when I just wanted to give up. And I didn't know if I had made the right decision. I didn't know, oh my God, am I just like wasting all my money because I don't I want to work for myself? Like, I had a lot of doubt, but I just kept believing and kept believing in myself. And no, I felt like I was on the right path, but it's really hard to keep going when you're unsure. You just have to, it was the leap of faith, right? And I think a lot of people do that in sobriety too. It
Yeah.
feels funny. It feels weird. You're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I sure I'm supposed to be doing this? But you just keep going. Just keep going.
I feel like you're just speaking to me right now because I'm like in that place, in that place where I was like, God, because for people who don't know, when you're like breaking out into like your own business type of stuff, you also have to invest in yourself first, right? In order to make that happen. And then it's like, ooh, am I just like setting myself up, spending all this money, doing all this stuff, and nothing's gonna happen? Like, what happens, right? What if nothing happens?
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to like, even so when I would feel that way, I would like double down on my manifesting, double down on my, self talk, my affirmations, and like, you know, telling myself it's scary. Like it's going to be scary. It's not easy starting your own business, especially when it's centered around your own sobriety.
Right,
But don't give up. Like you have to
right.
sometimes trudge through the mess of it and like the chaos of it to build the foundation. So now I look around and I'm like, whoa, okay, I got here. Like I got here. But
Yeah, like
it
I'm
was
here.
but it was very questionable last year. And I'm very grateful for even the version of me a year ago that didn't give up. Because the version of me a year ago was pretty lost. Not in sobriety. I was really strong in my sobriety, but I was lost in terms of my like career and business. And I was still very
Yeah,
much just like hoping and praying that things worked out.
that it works out. No, I completely love that because, and it's funny that you just pulled out trudge too, because I don't know. I've always worked in rehab, and at night when the girls do the whole big book thing, they all scream trudge, trudge through all the hard times to get to the good times. So that's super funny.
Yeah, I mean, and
I
I
love
always
that.
say like too, when you have a bad day, like you wouldn't appreciate the good days without the bad days. Like they're necessary in order to appreciate the good. So I really try hard to share when I'm having a bad day on social because I never want it to seem like everything's a highlight reel or like, sobriety is just all sunshine and rainbows because it's not. You're still gonna have
Mhm.
bad days. Things are still gonna happen. You just don't have to drink them away. Like you can deal with them in a much more healthy way and move on, right? It's like
Right.
bad days
And
are going to
drinking
happen.
just like
Yeah.
10 times is how bad it is, right?
Well, it's like things are going to happen whether you're drinking or you're sober, right? It's not like you're sober and you're never going to have a bad day again. Bad days happen regardless, right?
Right.
But it's just not as bad. It's honestly not as bad when you're sober. Like,
Agreed.
yeah.
Totally agreed. So you're dog obsessed. You're obsessed with your dog. Like I'm obsessed with my dog. I know this. So I gotta ask, do you think your puppy kind of saved your life a little bit?
1000%. Yes. I'm looking at him sleeping right now. He's so cute. I saved him. He's a rescue. And he was like, ooh, not doing well when I got him. And then he saved me. Yeah, because I had to walk. I knew that I'd have to walk my dog. Like this is New York City. I didn't have a yard or anything. So even when I was still drinking and hungover, like I had to walk him, which I think saved me
Mhm.
back then. At least it gave me a little bit of movement, a little
Right.
bit. of like getting up, a little bit of me going outside. I had to go outside. There were probably times I didn't go outside at all before I got him. I remember, I think
Right.
there were like a few months when I was in college, even where I like didn't see daylight for like months. So I would just like sleep all day, be up partying all night, sleep all day. I mean, it was bad. Um, Anyways, to answer your question, yes, he did. He 100% saved me. And having a dog in New York City is like the most social thing you can do. So now I know my entire neighborhood because of the dog. That's the only, everyone talks to you when you have a dog. So before you, if you don't have
Mhm.
one in New York, you just like kind of mind your own business and like what, you don't talk to strangers. You have a dog. Literally
Everyone
everyone talks
speaks.
to you. Everyone talks to you. Everyone's like talking to George, talking to me. So you get to know your neighbors really well. You get to know your community really well. And it's not because I'm just like a drunk mess all over the place. It's because I am outside with my dog.
I love it. So, what would be your best advice to somebody who's struggling with alcoholism, addiction, whatever?
Reach out to somebody and ask for help. Do not do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. And don't be scared of what your life's going to look like without alcohol. Like, don't try to think about, like, I'm not going to be fun. I'm not going to, like, all the stuff you're thinking right now is not true. I promise you, it's not true because we tell ourselves lies in order to keep ourselves trapped in the vicious cycle of alcohol. So try to like remove all of these limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, about alcohol, about life and sobriety, and just like take the leap, take the plunge and try it. And don't give up after 30 days. Make a goal, go at least 90 days, try to go 6 months, right? But don't tell yourself it's going to be forever. Just like make a very specific goal and then reevaluate how you feel then. And I guarantee you, you're not going to want to go back to drinking.
So true. So true. So, tell everybody where they can find you, all of that stuff.
You can find me at Sober in Central Park on Instagram. And yeah, like if you are in New York City, definitely keep a lookout for cool events happening in the city. We'll be announcing the name of the space and the whole team in like a week or two. So it's gonna be really exciting. And yeah, I'll soon, hopefully, I'll have a dedicated space where I'll be doing my own programming, my own events, um, not far from where I used to live in Brooklyn when it's like a whole full circle moment. So yeah, come see me if you're in New York and like give it like 6 months.
I love that. So, this episode will probably be coming out in like 2 weeks. So, hopefully, we'll be able to like announce with you where you're going to be at, all that jazz if it's out.
Yeah,
Yay.
definitely.
All
Well, thank
right.
you so
Thank
much
you
for having
so
me.
much. Yes, I was so happy to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.